Marty Natalegawa, in the name of the University Council of Macquarie University and by my authority as Chancellor, I admit you to the degree of Doctor of Letters Honoris Causa. Congratulations. I now invite His Excellency to address the Assembly. Your Excellency.
Honourable Michael Egan, Chancellor of Macquarie University, Vice Chancellor Professor Bruce Dalton, Deputy Chancellor Ms. E. Crouch, of course, Honourable Senator Bob Carr, Foreign Minister of Australia, members, guests, and friends of the University, ladies and gentlemen. Speaking before such an august and learned forum, I have to say I am deeply humbled in being admitted to the degree of Doctor of Letters, Honoris Causa of Macquarie University, without doubt one of Australia's leading universities. Yet at the same time, I feel more at ease, proud even, given my belief that although this honorary doctorate has been conferred on me as an individual, I feel that I hold it in trust for the people of Indonesia, as a recognition of Indonesia's earnest efforts in the promotion of international peace and security, and not least as a symbolic of the special relations and friendship that binds Indonesia and Australia together. The type of close rapport that I have forged with my good friend, Honourable Bob Carr, with whom I share today's auspicious occasion. A friendship forever defined by Australians' early support for Indonesia's struggle for independence, and one further solidified as the two nations stood hand in hand in support of one another in overcoming natural disasters, acts of terror, and other common challenges. I still remember very much the occasion when I had to represent my government as an official in Bali soon after, immediately after the Bali bombings, 2002. I had accompanied the family members of Australians who have lost their loved ones at the ceremony at the Consulate General, at the hospitals, in identifying and those who have lost their lives. Amidst them, amidst the family members who have lost their loved ones, I told myself, never again should we, Australians and Indonesians, found themselves in this situation of having to grieve for the type of losses that we have both gone through. But above all, I remember then, the most powerful sentiment was one to ensure that we come closer together as peoples and as nations. And I think this is what we have been doing. Irrespective of the kind of problems that we've been facing, we have always now come together and work closely in addressing those problems. In other words, we have learned how to turn challenges that may have divided us into one that unite. Indeed, projecting our sense of common purpose in dealing with transboundary issues to the region at large. And indeed, making the ultimate sacrifice in the cause of that friendship, solidarity, and greater humanity. I believe Australia-Indonesia relations remind the fact that each and every one of us has the potential, the capacity even, to make a contribution, to promote change, a positive change. And I believe that foreign policy is not an exception. In our Asia-Pacific region, This must entail renewing efforts to maintain the peace and stability that have served the region well. The peace dividend that many countries in the region have been able to reap in the form of almost uninterrupted pursuit of economic development, lifting millions out of poverty. What kind of external environment confronts Indonesia and Australia as the two countries deepen bilateral relations? More specifically, what are the challenges to the region's peace and security? The situation on the Korean Peninsula, for example, has been perennial in the region's list of challenges. Risks exponentially increased recently with the possibility of further nuclear proliferation. The myriad of territorial disputes in the region is another. In the East China Sea or the South China Sea, for instance, claimant countries testing the other's resolve, constantly prodding and seeking to establish facts on the ground, aim at extracting acquiescence. Conditions that is prone to miscalculation, escalating incidents into open conflict. Beyond looms the risk of new strategic fault lines in our region. Are we to witness the old Cold War divide replaced by new tensions and new conflict? Are the dynamics of relations between countries in the region, large and small, to have a stabilizing influence in the Asia-Pacific, or the opposite? Adding to the complexities is the reality of the virtual indivisibility of internal and external issues, of internal developments with regional ramifications, for example, communal and sectarian conflicts, issues relating to democratic deficit, transboundary transnational issues, including communicable diseases, terrorism, human trafficking, and people smuggling. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I am of the view that countries in the region must rise to meet such challenges. And allow me to highlight three basic types of responses. First, I believe we need to transform trust deficit into strategic partnership. Set aside worst-case assumptions of the other's intention, which feed action-reaction, a vicious cycle of increasing tensions and of deepening distrust. Essentially, I believe that we should resolve to stop in its tracks the often seemingly relentless rush towards conflict, to end the sense of inevitability of conflict. To build trust and confidence, enhanced communications need to be established, formal and informal, governmental and non-governmental. The establishment of lines of communication, especially in times of crisis, are not signs of weakness or of acquiescence. Rather, they are means to decipher and convey intent without prejudicing or sacrificing principal position. Second, a commitment to peaceful settlement of disputes. Non-use of force, placing diplomacy at the forefront. Aggressively waging peace. I believe that overlapping territorial claims do not have to equate conflict. This requires, however, a commitment from parties to a territorial dispute to respect certain code of conduct or certain code of behavior. In the South China Sea context, this means the drawing up of a regional code of conduct between ASEAN and China. Elsewhere, it may involve less formal arrangements or understandings. However, the essence remains. Avoid miscalculation or unintended crisis. Again, peaceful settlement of disputes. And third, addressing geopolitical shifts and change. An obvious point, change permeates our region. Change and transformation within countries, political and economic, have ramifications far beyond their borders. Equally significant has been the transformation of the region's economies, turning them to drivers of global economic growth. As change occurs, we should usher a fresh paradigm in the region's interstate relations, one that promotes what we call a dynamic equilibrium. The word dynamic reflects recognition that change is inherent and a constant in the region. It is a natural phenomenon that cannot be sustainably resisted or fight against. At the same time, equilibrium reminds that this state of constant change does not imply an anarchical state of affairs, either due to unchecked preponderance of a single state or due to the disorder or uncertainty associated with a multipolar region. Instead, peace and stability in the region should be gained through the promotion of common security, common prosperity, and common stability. Recognition that these are qualities, that these are actually common goods for all states in our region. A dynamic equilibrium thus is marked by an absence of preponderant power, not through the rigidity, rivalry, and tensions common to the pursuit of a balance of power. Instead, through respect of certain principles and norms, reflecting common responsibility in maintaining the region's peace and stability. To reflect such an approach, Indonesia is ready to work towards an Asia-Pacific or Indo-Pacific wide treaty of friendship and cooperation, a commitment by states in the region to build confidence, to solve disputes by peaceful means, and to promote common security. A treaty not unlike the Treaty of Amity and Cooperation in Southeast Asia, which has been such an instrumental part in the region's evolution from one marked by conflict to one which is today on the eve of a community. A treaty which provides flesh and strengthens the commitment already expressed by the East Asia Summit participating countries through the so-called Bali Principles on the principles for mutually beneficial relations agreed at the East Asia Summit last 2012. Chancellor, Vice-Chancellor, friends and colleagues, Australia and Indonesia can do so much bilaterally, as well as for the region and for the rest of the world, through our comprehensive partnership. The way Australia and Indonesia work together in addressing common challenges can serve as a template for cooperation among nations in addressing larger challenges confronting the Asia-Pacific region. Every accomplishment of this partnership sends a strong message to the rest of the world that nations, no matter how different they are from one another, can work together, not only for their mutual benefit, but also for the good of their region and beyond. That is why it is always a great pleasure and privilege for me to work closely with my dear colleague, Senator the Honorable Bob Carr, in advancing the Australia-Indonesia partnership. Before I conclude, Chancellor, and it is not in my nature normally in a forum of this type to profess allegiance to one or another country, especially in my profession that have to adopt a somewhat even and not partial outlook. As you have kindly acknowledged or referred to just now, I have been schooled both in the United Kingdom as well as here in Australia, and have deliberately and most of the time chosen not to show partiality to one or the other. However, on a matter to do with cricket, this is a development that I have been following throughout the night, even when I'm traveling. I'm told when upon arrival here in Sydney that in the first game of the Ashes, there was some controversy when Australia lost by, was it by some 14 or 15 runs. I hope the better team will prevail, but I am not surprised if Australia was to win in the Canada.